What is up, everybody? Pack here, and this video is going to be kind of weird and different from the rest because this is going to be my top 10 collaboration units. Now, this is only going to include Omni units, so pretty much like Phantom of the Kill units, Shin Megami Tensei units, and the more recent units we've had like Natsu, Lucy, Gray, Leo, and Baiken. Basically, it's going to be all on the units that are only collaboration units. So this is going to be sort of kind of different from like all the other top 10 unit videos where they go over like the units of like the month. Right now, I'm going to go over just the units that I like from collaboration units in some kind of order, but not really. But yeah, with that being said, I'm going to get on with number 10, which is Zero from Phantom of the Kill. Now, he's way down on this list because he's outclassed by a lot of the other units on this list. He's outclassed by a bunch of other Nuka units. He's even outclassed by, I think, Lancelot, who's another mitigator. Well, not another mitigator, but just a mitigator who can do the exact same stuff that Zero can do, but a little bit better. Now, I don't think he does max HP and attack to his leader skill, but if Lancelot does anything good, is Lancelot does do spark damage. He does do mitigation. He has 2-turn mitigation, and he boosts parameters to a pretty good limit. But Zero, he's just outclassed by so many other units. There's a bunch of other units that outclass him. I think they're the unit that would really kind of compare to him is Rize and Lara. Rize, Lara, and Elza. They all do better than him and have slightly less in the means of stats. Even though Zero can probably do a bit more damage if his HP is low. So if you don't have a healer on your team and his HP is quite low, or if you give him some kind of Angel Idol Sphere or some type of Angel Idol Elgif, and he's like standing on 1 health, then it makes him easy to use for his UBB because his damage it is increased when his HP is decreased. So if his HP is low, he'll have a higher damage output. So it's kind of weird, but his multiplier for that is whatever his current HP is divided by the max base HP. So if it's like an anima, then it's going to be about, it's going to be like 1 divided by 9,170, which isn't that bad because then you do more damage. You technically have far more of an output if you have him at low HP than you do have him at full health. So that's why he's ranked so low on the list. Now, it's not because I just don't like him. It's because he is outclassed by everything. He's outclassed by a bunch of other nuke units, and like I mentioned, he's even outclassed by another mitigator that we have on global, who just does spark damage boosts and who does a whole bunch of stuff that Zero can do better. And Zero is only basically good for a nuker unit if you need to fill in that one spot, but that's pretty much it. But with that being said, that's all for Zero, and moving on to number 9, which is Sakura Miku. Now, I put her on this list because she was kind of, at the time when I logged in, she was fairly new. It was like a couple days into the Vocaloid event, and then I just never went on again. But she does 50% boost to attack and max HP, 30% boost to critical hit rate, 15% damage reduction from dark types, status ailment negation, and boost critical damage by 150%. Now, I like that because she does a bit more damage output that way because you get more criticals, you get more critical hit damage, you get negation of the status elements, and if you're fighting against mono dark teams, you get 15% less damage taken from those. So while she's not really good for leader skill, it looks like that, it looks like that's all it, but in the end, we have other units like Lugror, Alzamasta, the Summoner Robe, and Regil, who can do damage reduction from all types. Feng can do damage reduction from from all elements that are not light and dark. That's all she can cover, is 15% damage reduction to, again, all those that aren't light or dark. And that's not bad considering that most of the more better units are multi-elemented and not just strictly light types or dark types. Now, while Ezra is a good light type unit, she got outclassed by other nuclear units, but she doesn't get outclassed in the terms of hits. She's a very hard hitter. She's a very hard hitter and comparable to Resus of all units. Resus, Arthur, and Ezra make one of the best teams, one of the best 3 units, actually. But Sakura Miku's placed so low on the list because she doesn't really have a lot to speak for. She just has like standard stats. She has like very base level stuff. She's not incredibly overpowered. She's not really that great in any sense of the way. She's not really super powerful. She's just kind of borderline. So that's all I've got to say for her. Now this next one for number 8 is going to be kind of controversial, considering what I'm picking on this list. It's collaboration units, and these are just like my top 10. But my next one is Rain. Now the reason I say Rain is at number 7, I know a lot of people might get angry at me for saying this and not putting him higher up on the list, but again, he's outclassed by a bunch of other units. He's outclassed by Xion in terms of attack, defense, recovery boost. He's outclassed like Mei. Mei outclasses him because she's like the water version of Xion, and Xion outclasses Rain because, he's a bit better. Now, Lancelot can do almost the exact same things as Rain can. Amos can do the same, and Nagito can do the same, I think. They all do the general same thing. They cover the same spectrum. Status boost up negates a certain thing like attack down or defend down or recovery down or whatever, and has boost to BB gauge and max HP boost. Now, again, kind of more comparable to like the new mitigators of Nagito and Amos and Azumasta, but Azumasta, Nagito, and Amos do their job a bit better. Like, they incorporate a bunch of more buffs instead of just certain things for each one. Now, albeit that Rain can do some things a little bit better, but, again, there's so much that these other units can handle with that are far better. Now, for a unit that has mitigation on SP skill, that makes it kind of weird because then you're kind of sacrificing a bunch of other stuff to get just mitigation and other stuff. So he's not good in that regard, but in other regards, he's pretty good. He was one of the top mitigators back, I think, last year. He was like one of the best. Like, everybody wanted Rain. Everybody needed Rain because he was just that good. I have Rain. He's not that great, but he's far from the worst, but he's not great either. So now moving on to, what is it? Number 6 is Toki. Now, Toki's only good, again, for nuking. Now, she has 200% boost to attack and 60% boost to max HP of dark types. 15% damage reduction from light types. So she's kind of good if you use just dark types. So, if you use more powerful dark types like Xion and all these other units now, she becomes a far bit better than a lot of other units. But if you're just using her for regular attacks, she's not the best. She's more status inflictions and just like BB attacks, status afflictions, and where is that? Boost OD, gauge fill rate. She's not really good for much else, but you do have a bunch of other great things for her SP skill. You can increase damage reduction from dark types. You can increase spark damage, critical hit damage, and negate status ailments, which you can just get like a sphere or an Elgift to do. Enhances SBB UBB's BB attack is kind of iffy, but adding dark elemental damage boost to the SBB is probably one of the best things she has. Also, adds OD fill boost to the SBB is also pretty good. Again, a lot of her stuff is pretty good, but she's ranked low on the list for being kind of just nuking and nuking only. Like, she has BB tech stuff against status afflictions, boost damage against status inflicted foes. So she's only good for like one specific thing, but at the end of the day, she is probably one of the better nukers. Out of Zero and her, Toki's better because again, she has boost OD gauge fill rate, reflect damage. Again, she's kind of like Losbo with the damage reflect. She has a whole bunch up her sleeve in the terms of damage output. You can give her boost spark damage, boost crit damage, boost dark elemental damage, boost damage against status inflicted foes, boost damage for all dark types, enhanced BB attack, SBB and UBB's BB attack boost, which all those are really good to give her, but they kind of overcap they kind of shoot over the limit. Now, the other one thing you probably want to have is like that damage reduction from dark types. But if I had Toki, I'd probably make her strictly for damage dealing because she seems really good for that. Given that I'm reading her stuff right now, she seems really good because instead of her damage output being related to her HP lost, it's relative to her HP remaining. So it's current HP divided by base HP for her UBB and for the SBB and for the BB. So she has a bunch of stuff. She can get a lot of damage off if she has full health. That's the other thing. So she's she's just really good for a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's iffy as to whether you want to use her or not. You know, it really does depend on what you want to do. So at the end of the day, that's all I've got to say for Toki. Now, moving on, we are gonna hop up to Gazolina. Now, Gazolina's on here. I'm gonna have to make a quick change here because what's interesting about Gazolina is that she wasn't. I really didn't want Gazolina to be added, but it was also pretty good for her to be added. So, let me explain here. So she has, what is that? She has 80% boost to defense and recovery on BB gauges over half, which would be better if she had her mana bubble, but it doesn't really help too much. So it doesn't do much because again, she has so much potential. She had so much potential in Europe. Like, she was the official queen of having status, well, not status, but having a support unit. She was like the meta for supports. She was one of the best. And then she came to Global, and Global really fucked it up for everybody. So I'm not saying that it's Global's fault for really ruining her, but it's just Global had to mess it up for everybody. Global really did her very wrong. Like, she doesn't have mana bubble anymore. It's replaced with barriers, which are just like defense. It's like based on defense, how much damage you take. And it's not the best because you take so much damage. You take so much damage. It has a low. The reward for using it is very low. It is a very low reward for, taking a big risk like this. Just using her for, HP barriers and stuff. She's not the best. Go with like another shielder unit, or when we get on the Tridon, use him. Because she got nerfed a lot. She has damage reduction for 2 turns, but that doesn't really do much. It doesn't do anything for the current meta where a lot of units have 2-turn mitigation or have some kind of high mitigation effect. So I put her kind of weirdly at spot 5 because she does have Angel Idol. She does have a lot of stuff going for her, but again, Amos Nagito outclass her. Alzamasta pretty much outclasses a lot of units. He's like the universal lead. He's the universal unit. You can use him for a lot of stuff. So using Alzamasta is pretty much a replacement for a lot of mitigators. Now, it doesn't say, I'm not saying use Alzamasta and only Alzamasta as your mitigator. I'm saying use Alzamasta paired with somebody else because he does elemental mitigation. All these other units just have damage reductions, which when you take damage from just any type, it gets cut in half. Now, if you have Alzamasta, he drops certain elemental type of units attacks down a little bit. So it doesn't really say, like, I'm not really saying, like, you know, use Alza and Alza only. I'm saying use Alza paired with another mitigator. But, you know, if you had to pick between Amos, Nagito, and Gazolina, I'd actually pick, like, Amos or Nagito, because they are better at their job. But, you know, Alzamasta already has Angel Idol on his UBB, and you probably want to use his anyways, because Alzamasta has a lot of stuff going for him. When he got released, he's the most overpowered unit compared to, like, you know, Karnamasta when he comes out. But he's already out in Japan, so Karnamasta is already, like, really powerful in Japan. So Karnamasta, Alzamasta, those are the two really good units. Now let me think. Okay, so I'm gonna move up to what is that? Number 4 in just a second. I've got to go to the bathroom, guys. Sorry about this. Kind of weird statement here, but I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back. So this time it is number 4, which is Dizzy. Now, again, it's kind of weird how I put these units on this list, but it's in no real particular order. These are just my favorite. So the reason I put Dizzy on number 4, well, wait, hang on. Something's not right here. Hang on. So it was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, yeah. So, okay. The reason I put Dizzy on, no, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. The reason I put Dizzy on number 6, I'm sorry if I said 4, either in this video or in the last segment. So, I put her at number 6. Why? Because while she's not bad, she's not good. Okay, before anybody starts yelling at me, she's not bad. But then there's Maxwell, Omni Maxwell, who can do the exact same stuff. But out of the two, I'd probably still pick Dizzy because she has break attack parameter limits. I don't know if Maxwell does, but of the two units, I'd really pick Dizzy because she has a lot in her kit. Like, a lot of the stuff that other units have, she kind of has that, and she kind of runs it a bit better. Like a lot of units that run elemental damage and critical damage and spark damage and stuff like that, she does it a little bit better. Now, while she does critical hit damage, both on leader skill and extra skill, she also does elemental damage. Maxwell also does elemental damage, but out of all the units, you'd want to pick Dizzy because she gives 60% boost to attack max HP, 30% boost to critical hit rate, huge boost crit damage, huge boost elemental damage, and attack relative to remaining HP. So it's 0.8 attack per 1 HP. So at max HP, that's about 80%. So not that bad of a boost. Again, it's better because then you get that stacked up. And again, her extra skill is also really good. You know, negates elemental damage, raises attack parameter limit, spark damage boost, critical hit rate, or critical damage for all allies by 20%. So that gives her 145 crit damage, 150 elemental damage, raise attack parameter limit to 130,000. What is that? 60% boost to attack, and the 60% boost to max HP are both really good. Now, one thing I do have to say though is that she has a lot of possibilities that you could use it for. She has, under BB, she has fire, water, earth, and thunder mitigation, 10%. Not bad. Negates critical hit damage for 2 turns, boosts BB gauge, and boosts own BB gauge to max. That's a really good for support because a lot of other support units, well, I mean, it would be better if she had a heal, but again, that's why you have other units that you can use. That's why you have like Gazolina that you can use. If you give her the right SP options, she can do that. She can cover the role of being a healer and being a mitigator. So Gazolina is also pretty good to pair with Dizzy because you get BB stuff from Dizzy, you get SBB stuff, you get heal, you get elemental negation, you get crit negation, you get all this stuff. And she's not that bad at all to use on a team. Now, she's also really good for Frontier Hunter, and that's pretty much the only reason people really try to use her. Her being Dizzy, you know, because she only does elemental damage, and that's the stuff you need for Frontier Hunter. She's really good for the popular method called Guard Frontier, which is you guard all your units, and you BB like either Fina or Dizzy, and you get a high score because you fill your overdrive, and it increases your stuff over time. So there's that. She's not bad on a lot of stuff. She has, again, she has a lot for her parameter stuff. She has a lot for everything else. She does so much. She has so many SP that it's really hard to pick, like one over the other. She's a really good unit. Again, she's kind of placed awkwardly on this list because Maxwell does do the same, but Maxwell kind of, I think, does it slightly better. Maxwell does it in a way that is kind of weird, because unlike Dizzy, you only get Maxwell's Lord. With Dizzy, you can get her pretty much any type. You can get her Breaker, you can get her Guardian, you can even get her freaking Oracle. But of all the types, again, Breaker is really good for like nuker units or damage dealing units because they dish out more damage, and it doesn't matter for HP boost because no unit can have 101% health. Even with like a Tridon shield, nobody can have 101% health. So you can only get up to 100% health, and those boosts only go so far. So it doesn't do much, but it in the end, it makes it a lot better to use Dizzy than other units. So there's that. So next is the worst and the saltiest of all the units. It's Leona. Now, the reason I say Leona is because she's an Omni Taunter. We have Urza Scarlet now, but before Urza Scarlet, you had Leona. You had either Leona, Deimos, or Ultor. Deimos and Ultor weren't really the best because they were 7 stars units, but Ultor was a bit better because if you gave him his sphere, he could do a bunch of stuff. But a lot of people don't really have that sphere, or a lot of people have it, but they sold it, and they're trying to grind up enough guild tokens or like merit points to re-get that sphere or something like that, or it's just gone forever. But she's really good because she has a bunch of stuff. She has DOT, she has Taunt, she has boost BB and SBB activation rates in Arena. So again, she's a very good Arena unit. She has 60% ABP and 35% CBP gain. She has, again, a bunch of stuff. She has damage relative to remaining HP, and she has boost own stats. She has, boost defense relative to attack. So if you have a bunch of attack units, or a unit that boosts attack relative to defense, like Lancelot, you can use her BB and get her some defense for attack, and use that powerful taunt, which really helps you out because you survive so many hits. Like on Zhaijing Trial, you can actually skip. It was an old method back when Leona came out. It was during the same time frame as Leona came out at the same time when Zhaijing Strategy Zone came out. So when those two came out, it was like, oh my god, we have a taunting unit. That's an Omni unit. And we've got so much shit to do. We've got so much stuff to use her for. So people started using Leona to pretty much skip Grand Conversion, which is like the one-hit KO attack. So everybody was using her to skip Grand Conversion. She was only really good for that, but she did see some Colosseum. Everybody saw in Colosseum. I'm not gonna lie, I saw her a bunch of times at Colosseum. Like, I had like 5 Leonas in like one team, and I was fighting against them. I'm like, oh fuck, this is it. This is how I die. So Leona is also not a bad unit to use. She's not a bad unit to use just in like Coliseum or regular quests. She's a very good unit to use just all around. But if you want to use her as just like a random unit, use her as a sub unit. Like use her as just as a extra unit. Don't use her as like, you know, a unit that's gonna be like your lead, because again, those BB and SBB activations only happen in Arena, I think. So she's very powerful for Arena, and I would actually recommend using her for Arena if you have her. She's not out. Again, all these units I've just talked about, excluding Dizzy. I think the summon gate for Dizzy's closed. So excluding, like, all these units I've talked about right now have their gates closed for the most part. So she does very well, but she's, again, only good for taunting pretty much. And with that, we roll up to the next unit. Now, this next unit is going to be number 3. Now, oh my god, I had a hard time picking between these 3 units. It really, really, really kind of made it difficult. I'm not going to lie, it made it difficult. But, yep, it's Arthur. It's my boy, freaking Arthur. Now, while you do have to get his special spheres, his, Caliburn and the Grail, if you don't have those, just use, like, War Demon's Blade and use, some other spark boosting sphere. Because his stuff is very good. Like, I mean, yeah, you want to have those effects, like those extra, BB attack and spark damage, and adds OD fill rate effects if you have Caliburn and the Grail. But if you don't have them, use War Demon's Blade and like some other spark or critical hit sphere, and he will do a ton of damage. Now, he does a ton of damage, not only just from his parameter boost on his leader skill, his critical boost BB gauge, and his 100% boost spark damage, and his critical hit damage output increase. But if you give him his extra skill spheres, he has boost critical hit damage, he has BB attack boost, he has OD fill rate, he has a bunch of stuff on his leader skill. And he has 20% boost to attack and defense for all allies if you give him Caliburn. And that's very good because, again, he came from Europe. He got nerfed quite a bit. And, yeah, even though he did get, like, he got like, supremely nerfed as soon as he came to Global from Europe. Because originally he had 20% chance to recast on BB. His SBB, he had 20% chance to recast. And he had 95% chance to recast on UBB. And he was just very powerful, and everybody used him. Everybody had his spheres. Everybody was using him because he was just that freaking powerful. Now in Global, he's kind of, he's not really outclassed because his damage, his damage can't be fucking topped at the moment. Maybe if you have a good Natolame set, you can outclass Arthur. But out of all the recasters, out of Beatrix, Crash Belt, Natame, and May, Arthur is the best. Arthur is the best by far because you get 190% boost to attack, 60% boost to critical hit damage, and you have that 10% chance to recast, or 15 if you get the SP option. But he is insanely good if you pair him up with like Natolame or Crash Belt or Beatrix. Arthur is very good if you just use his UBB and use that extra recast effect. If you give Natolame the extra 5% from her 15% proc rate, she and Arthur can do so much damage together. Like with the critical hit damage and the proper setup, you can wipe a lot of teams pretty quickly in like Frontier Rift or not Coliseum, but in Frontier Rift, in Guild Raid, or in a lot of other global exclusive contents, excluding, arenas and stuff. You can wipe a lot of teams up with Arthur. If you just have Arthur, even as your lead, he can like wipe up a lot of stuff. Now, he's not bad. Now, you might say 50% boost to parameters is not bad. Well, it is bad, but it becomes kind of not bad if you give him the 10 SP cost for an extra 10% to that leader skill boost, making that 60%. Also increasing his attack parameters to 130,000 for the same cost, makes him insanely powerful. Also, if you give him that spark damage boost on leader skill, you completely top a lot in the terms of damage. Now, the only thing I would not recommend is giving him attack defense when BB is over 50%, because sometimes you have BB drain units. Sometimes you have units that completely just jack your BB gauge, or just, if you don't have proper status negation, you get cursed and you can't do that. You get like BB drained, then you get cursed. I remember that because I was trying to do one content. I can't remember what I was trying to do, but I was trying to do one thing, and that happened to me, and I got fucked up. So Arthur's, again, a very good damage dealer. Very high chances of getting that BB, SBB, and UBB if you just have an extra Sparker or an extra recast unit. If you just have, if you don't have Arthur, the next best thing is either Beatrix or Natolame, because Natolame does not have a bad leader skill at all. But the reason why she doesn't make it on the list is because she just doesn't have enough damage potential. I mean, with Arthur, all of his what do you call them, the multipliers are insanely high. With Natolame, the multipliers are kind of lacking a bit, but that's why Arthur is number 3 on the list. Now moving on to number 2. Now, between these two units, oh my lord, it was a very hard pick, because it was really either this unit or one of the more recent units, and that's Natsu. Now, Natsu's number 2. Now, why do I say Natsu's number 2 on this list and not like any other unit, or why not have him at number 1? Well, he's only at number 1 because, again, he's kind of like Blaze. He has a lot of damage potential, as well as having a very, very hard hit. Now, he has so much. Okay, he has so much in terms of attack boosting stuff. And now his leader skill is exactly like Zace, but since she's a guild raid trophy unit and not everybody can have that, well, they kind of had to make a compromise, so they made Natsu, I guess. But holy fuck, does he do a lot of damage. Like, if you have him as lead and you have a mono fire team, he does a lot of damage. Like, if you give Natsu and Zace, or Natsu, you can do a lot of damage. You can just do so much fire elemental damage, it's insane. Now, again, you have to give him the attack boosting sphere if you want the extra skill, and if you want all that extra stuff, or just like max HP boost to BB and SBB, you want to have that attack boosting sphere. Now, again, he has a huge attack parameter limit break on that extra skill. He has damage reduction. He has damage reduction from fire and earth types. Now, the max HP thing is 15% when you have like some attack boosting sphere. So if you have like Nougat PO8, Platinum Sword, or not Mace Tricorn, but the Leo's Dictionary, if you have one of those 3 things on him, you're going to do a lot of damage, especially if you have like if you had the fire vortex thing on him, you'd be doing so much damage. But again, he's kind of like Blaze with the insane amount of attack he can do. He's not bad by being at number 2. He's just at number 2 because it was where I put him. So, and again, this is a very hard pick between the top 3 units. I could have put Arthur at number 1 and Natsu at 3, but I didn't do that because Natsu has so much damage potential. And he's just absolutely insane with how much damage he does. And oh my god, his stats are they're rounded off, which is good. But they're rounded off, which is bad, because there's not a lot of boosts you can do with him. And with a very generic imp set, I would have expected him to have more attack, but he doesn't. He has 600 attack boosted with imps, a 600 plus attack boosted with imps. So I was kind of expecting him like an 800, and it would go down to like 1,000 for his attack boost with imps, but it doesn't go down that far, so I'm kind of disappointed. But I really can't expect much else, so yeah. So now, without any pictures on the bottom, I do apologize, but some honorable mentions are May, because she's just the water version of Shion. There's Johnny, who's not a very bad status inflictor, but he's just not. He doesn't have that right amount of power. But if you pair him up with Natsu, he's really good. Another unit I think would be Gaston. Now Gaston again is outclassed by Resus. He's outclassed by a bunch of other units that have hit amount boost effects. He's outclassed by like Savia, Camilla, Resus, and I think Ezra. He's just outclassed in many ways, but he's not bad at all. And the final of the, I guess the sort of kind of final of all these units would be Urza Scarlet. Now Urza Scarlet and Lily and Lucy, God, I keep like confusing literally everything right now because it's just like I want to get this out because I've been like really wanting to do a video like this. But the other unit is obviously Lucy because those two, well, Urza is another taunter unit, but she does kind of the exact same things as Leona does. But the reason I put Leona on the list and not Urza is because she was just so annoying in Thunder Vortex that people started like overhyping her, like, oh my god, look how good she is, oh my god, look at this, oh my god, look at that. And I'm like, no, you know what, at the end of the day, when a unit comes out, I don't expect him to be overhyped. Now I guess you could say the exact same thing for Natsu. Like, he was insanely overhyped. I kind of hyped him up a little bit, but he lived up to that hype. He's really good. But Urza is just another Omni mitigator. Well, she can get Omni mitigation. She can get mitigation, but she can only get it for one turn, and that's on SP option. And it's not that great when you have it on the SP option because you defeat the purpose of being a mitigator. If you want to have damage reduction on like the BB and SBB, and you make that like a 50 SP cost for one turn, you're really kind of cutting it short now because a lot of units don't use one turn mitigation anymore. A lot of units use like 2-turn mitigation or UBB with 3 or 4 turn mitigation. Krantz is a really good example on how she gets outclassed. While not being a taunter, Krantz can do 2-turn mitigation and 4-turn UBB mitigation, and he's just so much better at doing a lot of defensive things, and so is Leona. She's really good at doing defensive things as well as giving you some boost in offense. Now I say Lucy as well because Lucy again is just the light version of Shion. A lot of units kind of want to kind of hit that golden standard that units like Regil, Alza, and Shion hit. But, Alza, Shion, Claria, they want to hit like right where that was. But they don't hit that mark. They don't really make much of an impact in the meta as much as like Natsu and Arthur and Leona and Dizzy and the next number 1 unit, which is the only new unit I have on this list, the only like right now recent unit, and that's a Baiken. I had to put her on the list. Because she gets that 1000 boost on Omni plus 3. She gets that 1000 imp boost, and that makes it so much better. She makes one hell of a good mitigator. Not mitigator, but she makes one hell of a good damage dealer. That's what I was trying to say. But I'm thinking about, like Krantz and all these other guys that I talked about, and, like Gazolina. But she's on number 1 solely for the fact that she can do so much damage. She can do so much damage, and consecutive uses on her BB and her SBB do more damage. Now, I think it's the same way for Natsu. But let me see. No, it's not the same for Natsu, but she does so much damage if you just continue to use like BB or SBB. Like if you do it like 1 or like 3 or like 2 or 3 times, you get the max cap for multiplier, and you do so much damage. You do a truckload of fucking damage. Like there was one time I got like well over like a couple 100,000 damage using the right setup using Baiken. She does so much damage, especially if you give her 150% boost to attack on that leader skill paired with that defense ignoring effect. Stacked on top of that, you raise the attack parameter limits to 130,000 and boost spark damage, boost damage attack relative to remaining HP, 140% boost to spark damage. spark damage boost BB gauge, and you give her 130% boost to spark damage, 75% boost to elemental damage, raise attack parameters to 160,000, give her more attack and HP, and you give her stuff like enhances damage effectiveness and BB damage effectiveness. You make it seem like you want people to have 2 Baikens, one for more damage and one just for having the extra buffs. But holy hell, Baiken does so much for a squad that it's insane. Now, out of all the units, Arthur, Natsu, and Baiken are my top 3 favorites, because if you pair them all together, even though they have a complete different set of buffs, they do so much damage together. Because I used Natsu, I used Arthur, I used Xion, I used Nyami, and then I used Baiken, and I tested damage with Arthur, with Natsu, and with Baiken, and with Nyami, and with Xion. They do so much damage, paired with like another good spark damage lead. They do so much damage that it kind of almost hit 1 billion when the time I did it. Now obviously there's other units that can hit that cap pretty quickly, but there's no unit that can hit that like attack cap or like that damage limit as well as Baiken and Natsu can. If you give Baiken a mono earth team, a very powerful mono earth team, she can do a lot of damage. If you give a double Natsu lead with a mono fire type team with Johnny, Larissa, Blaze, and Johnny on, you can do so much fucking damage. Like, I'm not even joking. When I did that damage test with Johnny, holy fuck, I did so much damage. With Natsu, not with Johnny, but Baiken, Natsu, Arthur, top 3 favorites. They kind of broke the meta, and they completely opened this game up to a completely new meta because they do so much damage, and they're not normal attack nukers. Now, I'm not going to go over my top 10 favorite units of just all time right now, because that's going to be saved for the next video. Probably a couple weeks down the line, I'll make that another video. But another unit that's kind of within this this category of being in the honorable mentions would be Fina, because she does do a lot for the team. She's a very good support unit. I wouldn't say she's a very good damage dealer, but she's a good support unit because she does so much. Now, that's all for right now. That's pretty much it. Baiken, Natsu, and Arthur really kind of, these 3 really kind of cap they're like the peak performance of damage dealers in this game. They do so much, and they're so powerful. I'm not saying that these other units aren't powerful. Gazolina is a pretty good mitigator. Leona is a pretty good taunter. She's also a very good arena unit. I'm just saying that these units I picked them for a reason, because they are the top 3 best units, I think, right now that are collaboration units. And I'll go over like limited edition units, but that pretty much encompasses a lot of these units. But I'll try to go over like festive units, like the very short list, kind of ranking them in my eyes. So that being said, guys, that's all for right now. I have nothing else left to say. That's my opinion on the top 10 best collaboration units in Brave Frontier at the moment. I know I'm going to probably get some shit for this, but you know what? Who cares? With that being said, guys, have a great day. That being said, guys, see you on the next video or the next stream. Should be happening in a couple days or so. That being said, guys, have a good one. See you all in the next video.